So the largest San Francisco transit operator, they are painting a rather dire financial picture. They are stating that their ridership is way, way down. Their income is way, way down, and they are going to have a budget deficit of somewhere around $700 million in just a couple of years. What's the deal? San Francisco, does the doom loop continue? Let's get into it. Here we go. This is an issue that I've been kind of talking with my friends about and folks that I have ridden the light rail that Seattle just recently installed. You can ride the light rail around. It's great. It's clean. It's nice. It's new. Well, that's until they connect the Seattle part to the east side part. Then anything could happen. But one of the things that I'm always talking about is there is no enforcement to make people pay for said ridership on the light rail. It's like, what's going on here? I mean, you're supposed to pay, right? You're supposed to pay. And you got these little tiny kiosk things that you go up to voluntarily and pay. But, if we're spending billions and billions and billions of dollars on light rail, on metro, on trains, on whatever it is, you need as much income going into that to cover those costs so the taxpayers don't have to fit the bill, right? Right? Yeah. San Francisco has got a whole nother litany of issues. Officials from 3 of the largest transit agencies operating in San Francisco said Tuesday that time is of the essence to determine the best ways to close a forthcoming combined $700 million budgetary shortfall while preserving service. Representatives from BART, Caltrain, and San Francisco Municipal Transportation Agency spoke on Tuesday in front of the San Francisco County Transportation Authority Board, telling members they have recovered, this is one of the key points here, they have recovered between 40% and 70% of pre-pandemic ridership. Nobody is riding the train. Nobody is riding the bus. Nobody's taking mass transit after the pandemic. Interesting. Why would that be? Well, San Francisco's got, they've got a big litany of reasons, but so much of their mass transport takes place in the downtown core. And there's nobody going there. You've got 40% vacancy rate, maybe more than that. Now, it's my understanding that the increase of vacancy rate is decreasing. So we might be at the end. 40% might be at the end. Maybe it goes to 42, 43%, depending on whose numbers you believe. But you've got a huge, huge swath of commercial space in downtown San Francisco and in San Francisco in general that's vacant, that there's nobody going to businesses there. So then all the other small businesses that would normally support all the folks in the commercial space, those businesses aren't there either. So all the folks that would normally take metro, because traffic is a nightmare in any big city, right? It just is. The closer you get to downtown, just absolute nightmare. Except in you've got some cities in Texas where they have you got 18 lane highways, where they've planned, or you can take a toll road, pay a couple of bucks and boom, you get there. Toll roads in Seattle. Yeah, it's terrible. You just got awful traffic and you pay a toll and then you just get in line with slightly less awful traffic, right? Martin Reyes, the San Francisco City Transit Authority's principal transportation planner and government affairs, said ridership is really varied from operator to operator. Well, down 40 or to 70%. Imagine if you're down 40%. That is not good. Those are not good numbers. Those changes have significantly impacted the budget of many transit operators. Imagine that. Your income decreases by 60%, and in best case scenario, you're down 30% and you were maybe just making it before then. Well, now you've got some issues, creating the need for transit agencies to, okay, here we go. Love it. Reimagine. We need to reimagine and rethink how we are going to be fiscally viable come 2027, because we're going to have a $700 million budget deficit. Oof, that's not good. So they're going to have to reimagine and rethink how their services are funded with less reliance on traditional funding sources like, get this, fares. The one way that this stuff should be paid. You get on the bus, you pay. That's how it goes. But in these big blue Democrat liberal run cities, there's no, you don't pay for your bus. You don't pay. I mean, you talk about it. I rode the light rail here on the east side the very first day it was open. I don't know when that was, maybe back in April. And our big concern was my girlfriend works for King County. And so she has, her work, whatever it is thing, you wear around your neck, lanyard. I don't know. She can swipe that and she gets to ride everything for free. Not that you really want to in Seattle. I mean, that's just not, it doesn't really work very, very well. But, so I don't have that ability. So I'm going to ride the bus and we're like, okay, do we get some cash? Do we do a credit card? We walk up to the kiosk and I pay, and I'm literally asking somebody, because, there's zero stopping me from just getting on this transit thing, this light rail. There's nothing. You got nothing. And I'm thinking to myself, God, this is not good. How is this going to be viable if nobody's ever having to pay? How does this make this make sense? Well, it doesn't make sense. So we got to have less reliance on traditional funding sources like bus fares for the bus. Okay. All right. Okay. So then it leads you to think next, why do we even have them in general? Well, it cuts down on this and this and people like it. No, people are not riding the metro. They're not. And general funds, meaning just funds coming out of the, city's budget. And he said, pointing to remote work and other changes in residents' travel behavior, like not going by transit into San Francisco, period. They're just not doing it. Now, the remote work, that's been a deal killer for transit going into downtown, because you just don't have as many people working in downtown, and every downtown has been impacted by this. It's a matter of to what extent. So I think it was Starbucks just recently said, Amazon said, January 2nd, 2025, we're all going back to the office 5 days a week. Enjoy your new year. Happy New Year. They just made that announcement. And Starbucks also just said, hey, we're going to want to see you as much as possible in the office. Because all of that ridiculousness about we're all working from home forever, the way that we've, and the world's going to change. Remote work is here to stay. Well, it's not. Yeah, it's not. We're going back to the office. Everybody is. It's just, Ray's said regional, state, and federal relief have plugged holes in the agency's budgets amid those changes being pointing to remote work and other changes in residents' travel behavior. But the expiration of those funds has left the three expecting a combined shortfall about $700 million. This is in a state that has nearly $1 billion budget deficit. Numbers are huge. So bad that Gruesome Newsom, he's been boycotting some bills. He had 800 bills sitting on his desk. Either sign or not sign. 800? That's just insanity. And, so many of those are pages and pages and pages and pages and pages of legal nonsense, right? California, just one of the most overregulated states. It is the most overregulated state, right? It just is. Just like, okay, you're trying to protect the consumer, trying to protect this guy, trying to protect this woman, trying to protect everybody from everything. And in doing so, you just completely bog down the entire system. Way to go. Service cuts will have to follow if they can't close those gaps, officials with the agency said. There you go. If you don't have the income and you can't cut the costs, what do you got? Well, going to have to close down the bus. No more getting on the bus, Gus. If some or all BART riders were to switch to driving, where much of the impact would be felt in San Francisco, the effects would impact everybody in the region, not just transit riders. Well, yeah, but it's got to be fiscally viable because otherwise it doesn't make sense and you should get rid of it. Oh, yeah, but the environment. All right, well then figure it out. Make people pay. Do what you got to do. It's not that hard, right? Revenue, folks, revenue. Prior to the pandemic, Herhold said BART riders accounted for 1/4 of all miles traveled on public transit within the entire state. Although some riders have returned, many aren't boarding trains nearly as frequently. Well, we haven't even talked about trains, buses, light rail being used by the homeless, degenerate drug addicts for lighting up their fentanyl. You're in an enclosed area in a light rail car, in a train, in a bus, enclosed area. It's much easier to light up your fetty and smoke it, and then you don't even have to leave your seat. You just sit on the bus and ride it around and just happy as a camper, right? Just, here we go. It's great. Then you can take a little nap, you can snuggle up. Stuff like that. Stuff like just absolute knuckleheads. And then you got a bunch of crazy people that do the same thing, right? Get on the bus. And you wonder why folks aren't riding public transport. Throw a little bit of coronavirus on top of that. Oh, don't get on the bus because, you touch your hand to the pole and, do that sort of thing. And all of a sudden you got the Rona. You might die. So many of these things have combined to just basically take down what was normal prior to the pandemic. Riding the metro in San Francisco. So that has ramifications for other agents, she said, with 90% of trips transferring between services involving at least one leg on BART. And the agency has used its pandemic assistance funds wisely. All right. But the money runs out in 2026, 2027 fiscal year. And we're going to have $200 million per year estimated loss. So you're going to have to come up with that difference. I mean, you're going to have to, come up with something that makes sense. And I don't see that happening. What are you going to do? So you're just going to pass another tax. You're going to pass the expense along to the taxpayer, right? Who aren't riding the bus. Here's the big kicker. The service model is what's changed so dramatically for us, Romson said. People are not commuting 5 days a week. We know that. And here in Seattle, we are bracing for the 5 days a week traffic that will come from Amazon. Amazon's a pretty big employer, but it's not just Amazon. It's Amazon's effect on the rest of the region. Because when Amazon goes back to work 5 days a week, well, then you've got smaller companies who are like, hey, we want to get on that action because we know that we're going to have more control of our employees if they're in the office. Plus, we got this office space. We might as well use it. Yep, everybody, we need you to come back. Happy New Year. So Herhold, BART's assistant general manager, echoed those sentiments that people aren't commuting 5 days a week. She said COVID-19 turned BART's longstanding healthy financial model completely on its head. And now passenger revenues cover less than a quarter of operating expenses. A quarter. 3/4 of BART in San Francisco is not viable. Not economically viable. So what are you going to do? You're going to have to figure out some long-term solutions, have to build a consensus among Bay Area transit operators for regional revenue measure, meaning they get together and they beg for money. They do some dialing for dollars. Transportation officials said they want to adopt a framework that could be given to state legislators at the beginning of the 2025 season, which is, hey, we need some money. We need some money. Show me the money. Dinero. We need it. I think people want to gravitate towards one single idea that's going to solve the whole problem, which is people aren't going into downtown San Francisco. But let's not get hung up on the doom loop. Let's not go there, because, when we focus on the doom loop, it doesn't really allow us to reimagine and rethink kind of how we're going to get out of this doom loop. I mean, you can't really, I don't see an easy solution for working your way out of this one. I throw this one into the same pile. This one is probably easier to work out from the standpoint of, got to make people pay. Okay, they're not going to pay. All right, cut that service down. I mean, it's pretty cut and dried issues there, right? But I throw this issue into the same kind of pile as like the homeless issue, which is, you've created it. Now you've created all these, ways to ride into the city, but there's no real solution for solving the homeless problem. You've created a ton of homeless folks dependent upon handout after handout after handout. And when those folks get swept from their tent, they just get bumped down the road a little bit. Now they're out in suburbia because San Francisco has had such a push to basically clean up its downtown core. This doesn't look good. And, Kamala Harris running for president, she's San Francisco. Gavin Newsom, he is San Francisco. These issues don't look good, right? So on a big push to clean up San Francisco, meanwhile, you've got these issues like who's going to ride the bus? Who's going to ride the bus? This isn't just a challenge for transit agencies. It's really a challenge for everyone in the region, he said. We know we can't achieve San Francisco or the region's goals without transit. Climate, equity, economy, housing all depend on having transit thrive in the Bay Area. Well, maybe, and if that is true, you got to figure out a way to get people back on that they're encouraged by. And if they're not, and if you got 40% vacancy, all of this stuff works together. And you hate to say it, so much of this has to do with the doom loop. San Francisco, you have brought this upon yourself. Terrible public policy. Terrible policy. Just let homeless people live wherever. Just let people do drugs. It'll be great. It's best ever. Just compassion all day long. And then, you got the whole work from remote home. All of this kind of works together to create what we've termed the doom loop. And it doesn't seem to be getting better. It seems to be getting worse because most of these issues don't have a quick response. So you got climate, you got equity. Well, why are we even throwing equity in there? What does that mean in this context? What in the F does equity have to do with anything? I don't know. Economy, housing, all depend on having transit thrive in the Bay Area. All right. Well, I guess what I could say to that is, good luck with that. I mean, go San Francisco, figure it out, figure out some solutions there. Okay. All right. That's it for me on this one. Thanks so much for being here. Love to have you subscribe, do all that good YouTube stuff, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye for now.